Aikido, I learned to move out of the way. So, ever felt like this? Someone just comes up and punches you, but it's with words? Same thing again. Same thing again as I just move in and out of the way of the attack. Same thing again.
If you can't do this job, I'll find somebody who...
It's easy to talk about, it's hard to do. So my goal for this workshop today is to actually give you some tools, some how-to tools. What I want you to do is I just want you to stand there, just like you're at the grocery store, standing in line waiting, and just see what happens, okay? So now this is also a very scientific quality. It's called the wobble. And this is how most of us are. We're here in our life, and something little comes along, because I didn't really push very hard, and it throws us off balance. Somebody just said something wrong to us in the morning, whatever it is, it throws us off balance. And this is what we do, unless we're resisting, unless we're using a lot of energy resisting. So now, Shirley, what I'd like you to do is I'd like for you to put all your focus on your center. And I'm going to ask all of you to do this in a few minutes, so pay attention. So you can do that different ways. I think the most important way is to breathe, so you can feel your belly move. So you're going to breathe, belly breathe. Another thing, you can put your hands here if you like. You can imagine you've eaten a red M&M and it's in your middle. You can imagine music here or movement. If you don't understand what I mean, just pretend like you do. Okay? Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my hand back up here, and I'd like for you just to get focused there as much as you can, and then just nod your head when you feel focused. And what I'm going to do is I'll push again. Okay, I'm pushing actually about twice as hard as I was before. Do you notice a difference? What do you notice? She's focused. You guys notice a difference? She's not moving, is she? Great. Now I'm pushing probably 5 times as much. I'm probably pushing 10 times as much now. Great. Put your hand behind them in case they go flying. Great. So everybody has a wobble? Did you experience a difference?
Focus.
Did you go further or did you go less? You went further? Yeah, what happens is you tend to go further. And again, it's just a physical example of when you become more centered, you have more perspective on what's going on. You know, in an organization, you don't want everybody to have the same viewpoint on things. In my longer workshops, I always start out with asking people, what's conflict? People will say, well, conflict is a difference of opinions. Well, conflict's not a difference of opinions. It's our choice of how to deal with it. And I like to encourage people to experiment with communication in terms of making different choices that might serve you and get you a different result than what you're getting. You know, how many times have you heard, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting something different. And it's obvious in some more physical things, but in our communication, we do it all the time.
Engaging people in the learning process is extremely powerful. I involve people physically, intellectually, and visually in the way I teach. This gives people a long-term memory for the work because it gets into their bones.
And actually, let's see, let's move your hand like that so I bend it the right way. Okay. You know what? She really is strong. Okay. Whew. Now, what's interesting, I asked Jill to be strong. What did she do? She resisted. You know what? And I've never, ever had anyone ever come up here and do anything different than that. Because you know why? We think strength is resistance. Think about how that impacts our leadership skills, huh? This is the second career for me. My first career, I was an automotive engineer. And people always say, well, this is a very odd change of careers, going from being an automotive engineer to teaching conflict resolution. And it is. It's a very odd change of careers in some ways it's not. Because what I learned in my experience, I worked for 10 years for General Motors. And what I found was the technical part of my job was really exciting and challenging and fascinating. The hard part of it was the communication. And engineers are really difficult to communicate with because we all have our ideas and we stay stuck to them. And I left there in the mid-'80s. And it was during a time when we were really getting into all this quality control stuff and trying to involve the hourly people in our quality. And my last position there, I was the product engineer in the manufacturing plant, which really put me in a hot seat. And it was just, and my office was across the hall from the union office. And I learned that I had no skills on how to deal with conflict. I was always trying to make everybody happy, but that doesn't work. In our busyness and in our power, we tend to forget that we're dealing with human beings. And as we can create that connection, it creates influence. I have worked with all kinds of people. I've worked with inner city kids, I've worked with high school kids, I've worked with people in the middle, everywhere, in all kinds of organizations. I've worked in education, I've worked with physicians, I've worked with CEOs. I've done it all, and you know what? The all common thing is that we all want to be acknowledged and appreciated, and so few of us are.